Something came from Baltimore. Something came from Baltimore.
Welcome to another episode of Something Came from Baltimore. I'm your host, Tom Gouker, and tonight I have the one and only Paula Cole on the phone. Paula Cole just released Revolution on September 13th, 2019 on the 675 record, and it's been out for a while, but she's still willing to do press on the record. And it's a great idea because the album has a great political edge to it. It's a cry for humanity, and the narratives are super personal and emotional. Love is somehow the key that unlocks the door to which leads to the ultimate reality.
Love is somehow the key that unlocks the door which leads to ultimate reality.
Something came from Baltimore. Something came from Baltimore.
Hello, listeners. There's only been a couple of episodes of Something Came from Baltimore where I just scrapped the radio interview and instead allow you to listen to the full interview. The first time I did it was with my friend, Wayman Boone, who was the lead singer of the group Splendor. And everyone really liked that interview, but they didn't really like me as an interviewee. And the amazing Rupert Holmes, who was just amazing to listen to. They loved the Rupert, and they didn't say anything about me. But in this Paula Cole interview, it was really spirited. It was a great conversation. So I am honored to share it with you from beginning to end. We're going to play some clips like we would on the interview. So you're going to hear snippets of some of the songs. And I admit I screwed up the title of Blues and Grays, and I called it Grays and Blues. I'd fix that. You wouldn't know the difference, but I'm kind of leaving it in here on the interview. And we talked about the song Silent for a good 10 minutes. As far as I'm concerned, this Silent song is the centerpiece of the album. It's a really great and intense song, and we kind of break it down a little more than we would be able to discuss on the radio show. So what I'm going to do is play the song in its entirety, and then we're going to chat about that. So listen to the Paula Cole Deep Dive interview. That's what she had called it at the end, and that's what we're going to call this show. So it's not the radio show, it's the full version of the interview. I hope you enjoy.
Something came from Baltimore. Something came from Baltimore.
Hello, Tom speaking.
Hi, Tom. This is Paula Cole.
Hi, Paula Cole. How are you?
Good. Am I on the right page with you? This is the right time for this, correct?
It's the right time. You're West Coast. Is that right?
Okay, wait. All right. It doesn't matter. I'm on the East Coast now, but that's fine.
Oh,
okay, great.
Well, welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
I have been enjoying your album. I try to keep it less than 30 minutes, and I just want to go over maybe 4 songs. So if you're ready, I'm looking at some volume levels. We look pretty good.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Hey, thank you. Welcome, Paula Cole, to Something Came from Baltimore.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on your show.
Well, thank you. Paula, I want to thank you for, just creating some thoughtful music in this world that we're living in right now, and I'm bewildered why other artists are not really creating what I call like woke music at a time when we really need it.
That's beautiful, woke music. Well, I mean, I'm not really looking to my contemporaries. I'm looking to my, progenitors. I guess I'm looking to like musical legacy, the ones that last. And I think the ones that last are the ones that did speak out socially, politically, or about stories other than themselves. I mean, from Paul Robeson to Bob Dylan to Nina Simone and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and Joni Mitchell and John Lennon, Bob Marley and Marvin Gaye. I mean, Marvin Gaye's What's Going On has inspired me a couple of times now in my album making. But these are the artists I look to, and I don't, every once in a while I pay attention to something that's interesting going on now, but I'm still like worshiping the music of the masters, and they took their time to speak out about social justice.
I'm a little older, so I was growing up in a time period where message songs were just a part of everyday life. You got Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, Wake Up, or even up to Lauryn Hill's That Thing. You know, social messages were just a part of our life, and all of a sudden there is nothing going on. I am really concerned because I was doing just research for you. I was reading Pat Metheny's like reviews too, where he has, I can't say they're political messages, they're just really woke music, and his concerns and the feedback on comments are really sharp and negative. And I don't even believe that they're listening to the music. I just feel that they're just like kind of hitting hard. This album has been out for a while, so it has, you know, hit the atmosphere. What is the reaction, or what do you feel that the reaction is about your material?
Well, I'm sorry to hear that about Pat Metheny, because he's amazing, and I too love Lauryn Hill. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill was just such an amazing album. So yeah, thank you for mentioning those artists. And this Revolution was released in the fall, and the reviews were amazing. Like critically, it was amazing. I'm in a different period of my career now where it's not like it used to be. I'm fortunate that my old songs keep getting played, but I'm really just looking forward and not backward, and I need to express social justice themes in music, like a couple of times now in my music, with Amen, my third album, and now Revolution. And yeah, some people struggle, but I think overall, it's been largely positive from my loving loyal fan base and the woke people that are listening. Like, they get me, they get my catalog, they understand the content of my catalog. But if you were to like dangle me out there, or if for some reason it was a lot more successful, then I'd probably get skewered, I'm sure, and that's just part of it. And it just seems like the bully at the top of the hill is emboldening all the bullies. So we're in this climate right now of kind of abuse in a way, especially abuse to those who kind of dare speak out. So I'm sure, there has been some of that, and I just keep my head down and I keep moving. And I'm going to say this because I'm alive right now, and I want to make meaningful music in my lifetime. I want to speak my truth. So I'm going to express this no matter what. And whatever will be, I guess. It's been largely really positive.
I'm right there with the fans and right there with the critics. I think this is a great album, and I think it's really cool. You hit me really hard in a couple songs come in here where you emotionally touched me. I want to get to that, but I'm kind of like leading up to it because I have a conversation I want to talk about with the song "Silent." You chose to do a cover of Marvin Gaye for this album, "Mercy, Mercy Me." Out of all the, I guess, woke songs or protest songs from the past, you picked this one. Why did you choose to pull that and re-record that?
Like I said, I love and adore Marvin Gaye. I love his voice. I love his bravery. he released What's Going On. I think it was 1971 at the protestations of his record label, and he needed to sing about more than just love. He wanted to sing about the planet too, and he put together Mercy, Mercy Me, aka The Ecology, and it's a brilliant song that's ahead of its time for the planet. He's talking about fish and mercury in the waters. He's talking about pollution in the skies, our need to come together, being aware of human impact. And I strongly feel this song needed to come back out. There haven't been too many covers of it. It's actually really difficult musically. The way he sings is so sophisticated. When I was kind of shedding Marvin's vocal delivery, he sings in such like a deft. It reminds me of like a Brazilian music. His vocal phrasing is so deft and syncopated. It's really much more complicated than you'd think, and it's just such a brilliant song that hasn't been covered enough. So let's pull out Marvin, The Ecology, Mercy, Mercy Me now. Now, we need this message again now, what we're doing. Our human impact is so huge. We are so overpopulated on the planet, so anything we do has enormous impact, much to the detriment of some of these species just hanging on by a thread. Right now, in my lifetime, like since 1970, 3 billion birds are gone. That's 1/4 of the Earth's bird population is gone since 1970. Anything migratory, land, space, pesticide, we're wiping out species. It's a tragedy. I mean, our sons and daughters, our grandchildren are not going to know right whales and red wolves, let alone like species of plants, things that could be medicine for us. We are so out of touch with the natural world. It's insane. What the way we are living is insane, selfish and unexamined, and we need to talk about it. Yeah, it's depressing. Yeah, it's difficult, but let's talk about it. Let's figure out some right ways of living going forward. I think like being a vegan is like one of the most radical things you can do, not only for your health, like it staves off cancer, but it's also like one of the most radical things you can do for helping our planet and animals. So, I don't know. People want us to be quiet, and that's stupid. I just want to talk about it, and Marvin Gaye was talking about it in 1971 so eloquently. So let's bring him back. Let's remember him. Let's remember this message.
Mercy, mercy me. Things ain't what they used to be. No, no. Where did all the blue skies go? Poison is the wind that blows from the north and south and east. Mercy, mercy me. Oh, things ain't what they used to be. No, no. Oh, I wasted on the oceans and upon our seas, fish full of mercury.
You just answered two of my questions that are going into it. I'm like, this song is 49 years old, and while it's a part of our consciousness and everyone basically knows the words to this song, it hasn't sunk in an emotional level where people can even relate to it. It's actually worse. Like The Ecology is worse than it was in 71, and it was bad back then.
Yeah.
Like I had a question of like, what would you do to heal the world, which you've actually given me some suggestions. And one thing that I don't really think that is mentioned that well is I'm a Quaker, and we're very concerned about the population of the planet. Our goal at this point is to go down to 1960s level, whatever that number was at 1960. As the world, we should be really intensely focusing on that. For that reason, we would regain some of our vegetation, or our planet will be cleaner. And because of automation and all this other stuff that's going on, people will actually have jobs and feel a little self-worth. It's a big deal. It's a big deal, but it doesn't seem like anyone's talking about it.
I think you're right. I think that's absolutely right. we're overpopulated. Let's talk about it. So that there's food for everybody. I think population control would happen more naturally if women were represented equally in government, because they know that they want to have access to education and jobs, and in doing that, there usually is choice in your family planning, equal representation like there are in Scandinavian countries where they have quotas where government represents the population 50-50. So I think empowering girls in education and women to represent us equally in government, that's going to take time, but it's going to take care of a lot of issues, I think, intrinsically. I think people need to leave their land alone more. There's this notion that landscaping is something to strive for, but if you read any of the reports coming from, national wildlife organizations, they say leave your land alone, allow there to be some brush piles and some bushes. Leave your land alone. It allows these moments of migratory safe zones for species, and it creates ground cover that helps topsoil. Like, leave your land alone, explore veganism, equal representation of women in government, finding our place in the natural world. That's respecting all species, all life. These are things. Education is vital, because you can't even have this conversation if you don't have a well-educated population usually. So education's at the root of it. Caring for women and children and animals and diversity, people who don't have a voice in our society. So you're asking me big things, and I'm on a radio interview. And I usually don't talk about this in a radio interview, and I love you for asking me about it. I love you for starting the conversation about creating woke music. Like, bless you, brother. I think that's amazing, and I feel a little vulnerable talking about this, but it's probably what I'm most passionate about, is our place in the ecosystem, our sustainability for all species. What is our part in it? We must be stewards. What we're doing is our own demise, but it's so selfish that we're taking down all these innocents with us. So, honoring diversity, honoring history. I think we live in a really unfair society for people of color, for women, and I'm really tired of that. I'm just very watchful of it, and I care about it, and I'm speaking up for it.
I'd say continue. Please continue. We need voices. And during the intro, I made a comment that it's, you almost have to apologize for what you're doing. You're apologizing that you care about the earth and that you want to make it a better place. And it should not be that way. This conversation should be a very commonplace. I asked the question, what would you do to change the world? And you just gave me a couple things. And I would just want to share with you, I would do the 3 W's. And you basically mentioned that. And it was water, women, and wonder. We need to protect our water sources and make sure and drill it down backwards. So that's a clean environment. So we have our water. 98% of our, 90% of our body is water. Women are need to be free from the enslavery that they have in the world. They need to be equal, and then some. The creativity level of our world will completely change and the population would change if there is actual freedom for women. And wonder is that we are thoughtful, and we believe in science, and we believe in being creative, and education is a virtue and not something that you just run through for 12 years. That's my thing to change the world.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, and that's more positive. I've been focused on the P's, like, let's get off of plastic, right? Plastic is just smothering our planet. It's making the temperature rise. It's making species die. Plastic, let's get off of plastic. There's other options out there that could decompose. Petrol, pigs, like, we just need to stop eating animals, right? So I've been focused on the P's, but I love your W's.
You can use my W's. Okay, it's Water, Women, and Wonder for your next record.
Something came from Baltimore.
Here's the song Silent in its entirety.
When Carl and his sister united me in their tribe, I felt the strength in numbers emboldening my shyness. I laughed at other people, at their bodies, at their hair. I became the vicious girl, parroting her despair. And one day, cold as calculation, Carl went too far. Intentional in his hurting, physical in his war. To the shyest one of all of us, the tenderest lonely heart, I watched in horror, helpless, silent, the moment past me gone. Flying to the world tour, 25 and free, with condescending attitudes from British men in cliques. When I imbibed too much schnapps one night in a Swiss hotel, when tour manager felt this was the green light, pressed me down on the bed by my surprise, Dickent unpressed hard. What a sad excuse of a man thinking this is what one does. Showing him out with deep disdain, I kept the truth concealed. Cutting myself off from my own feelings, I kept on in silent hurt. My introversion in the kitchen, 30 years past amongst the moms. I don't share with them my secrets, staying safe from all their gossip. Their husbands in the parlor, huddled close together. Palpable discomfort when I join them in their circle, looking for a conversation. I listen to them speak, jockeying one-upmanship, subconscious insecurity. I add my 20 cents to the room, how flatly it does land. Unaccustomed to a woman of mine, they want to conquer me instead. Hush, child, I hear my great grandmother whisper in my mind. It remains as relevant today, here amongst this boring party. I don't know where I stand. I go rogue, go quiet, quicksand, folding into myself, losing voice to a moment past again. absorbing painful lessons, standing on my ground. I advocate, I'm blue in the face, I'm the leader of the crowd, but inside I'm the coward, still the little girl. By standing in my silence next to Carl, bullying her, for nothing is so simple. The bully is the weak, afraid to be tormented, tormenting for preempting. For Carl yearned for father, for love, for attention. He acted out the monster inside his lonely hurting. There is never enough love, there is never enough listening, there is never enough of our mothers to give us all we're missing. I took on the silence mandated by generations, but no more shall I be the mute and deaf and dumb submissive.
I know that you've been doing a lot of press, and I really appreciate you being open with me. I am having a blast with you, so I thank you very much. The song Silent to me is your centerpiece of this album, and it's very deep. And I want to know, before I even start asking questions, is this considered an autobiographical story?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm sure that people ask about this song over and over again, and I just want to let you know that when you talk about Carl in the story, I am that person. I was never really physical abusive to women or just people in general, but I was that bully. When I was younger, I definitely had would attack, I guess, the weak to make me look strong and to size a room up and find out who I can either make fun of or to kind of joke around to prove that I'm more superior. It's something I'm not proud of. I think when I do my flashpoints, of the highlights of my life, I hope all those are missing from my reel. But I identify with this character very strongly, and I've never heard this person before in a song. Can you talk a little about that?
I love that you're bringing out Carl from the story, and I changed the person's name for sake of the song, but it very much is something that a family I grew up with. I was friends with Carl's sister, but I would often hang out with them. And their family was going through a divorce, and Carl was the middle child and very sensitive and very smart and very upset about his life falling apart all around him. Had a feminine side, a tender, sensitive side, even though he's masculine, and was just probably terrified to ever be selected, to be picked on, right? That's the fear. He was afraid, so he would go out and torment before someone could torment him. It was a way of staving it off, and he would look for the weak person, and that was this girl who in our neighborhood who was poor. And I don't know where the dad was, and the mom was elderly and overweight and very much always inside the house, and she was very alone and sensitive. And I would be with them, and it was just one time it went way too far. It was a terrible thing he did. And I never say what it is in the song that he did, and I don't want to say it just to protect people, but it was just happened in a flash. It was really cruel, and I didn't feel like I could stop it in time. I was voiceless. I was paralyzed by my own silence, being complicit as a bystander, and I'm ashamed of myself for that. I was complicit as a bystander. That's silence. That's silence in that verse. Of course, there are other verses in the song where I'm silent. I start with that. because I'm a child, and that was one instance of silence and the dysfunction of not speaking out. And then I moved to the next verse where I'm in my 20s, and I experienced sexual harassment in a very masculine atmosphere of a large tour, and I'm silent. I'm silent so I can just keep going with the tour and get back up on the horse and, not give him the dignity and keep my gig and kind of keep my mind together. Silence again, dysfunction again. Third verse, I'm now in my 40s. I'm at a party with fathers and mothers of the children that go to my daughter's school. And it's like you almost need a little velvet rope between the women and the men. The men are huddled on one side of the room and the women on the other. It's, again, very dysfunctional, and we're falling into old patriarchal roles of gender norms. And I don't fit in either place. It's like, no, I don't really want to be in the kitchen talking about recipes and microwaves. And I'm very gossipy, and I feel very other anyway in that atmosphere. And then on the other side are the men. And so I go and I try to talk to the men, and I add my 20 cents to the room. How flatly it does land. They don't really want me to be part of the conversation. It's awkward for them. There I am, my silence. I hear my great-grandmother in my head. Shh, be quiet, like that. So I don't fit in either place. I don't know where to stand. Okay, I'm just going to roll myself up and be in my silence, because that's a safe place. But it doesn't get us anywhere. It doesn't change anything. And so we perpetuate this notion of silence. I learned it from my parents, who are of the silent generation. Perpetuating silence, as if that's a coping mechanism, as if that were dignity or stoicism. I'm from New England, so we pretty much think that's what it is. It's take it on the chin, be quiet, and keep going. But there's no processing. There's no learning from that. And all we're doing is creating children and culture who do the same, so they don't have the coping. And then these children look to us for healing. And then we don't have enough in our own hearts because we haven't healed it either. So I feel like I need to speak in order to stop a negative cycle.
One of the thoughts that I had about this song is that like early trauma in your life just continues to manifest over and over and over. Your situation that happened you had multiple scenes, and it just compounded, I think, without you really addressing or looking at it. What you're saying is really interesting too. As a child, I was scolded if I wasn't pleasant and quiet, and in the outer world, when we got home, I got yelled at for not being an obedient son in public, and that really shapes the way you interact with people, where you just kind of put up with stuff and you be quiet because you want to look like that you're a pleasant, accepting person, and it's really doesn't help you deal with some of the crazy that's out there.
That's right. You learned to turn off that voice, even when you felt that probably you did deserve that voice. And it's interesting that you're in radio now. You are projecting your voice to many, many people. So clearly there's been some examination in your soul about that. And if we're told to be silent, we feel shamed, or maybe that we're not worthy, or that our voice doesn't matter. Even when there's moments of injustice, we're wrestling with that. So I say good for you that you've somehow made the leap to speaking and breaking silence.
Yeah, I personally couldn't be stopped. There's something bubbling, there's something bubbling inside me that I just have to let it out. And letting out and not being afraid is really what's more important to me, I guess, at this point. Okay, so let's go back to the song Silence, because I do at the very end, you explain Carl's behavior, which it's here. I'm going through the bully is weak, afraid to be tormented, tormenting before preempting, is an amazing line. But you're explaining his behavior, where I really don't think you even have to. Like your journey is that you're not going to be silent anymore. That's the end of your journey. But then you kind of segue back into kind of explaining Carl. So I'm trying to figure out, you must have forgave this gentleman, or had therapy, or were able to identify exactly what was going on with him and be able to pull back a little and look at it objectively.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've seen, because I'm from a small town, I see how people have grown up, and I've seen him be addicted to alcohol and drugs and be in abusive situations and lost, and if he's tormented. But he was, all he really was weak and scared and terrified to say that. So he would preempt any abuse coming towards him by abusing. But really he was just missing his dad and wanting more love from his mom. And there's an explanation for all of our silence. And so the last verse is more universal. It's more just thinking about this silence that's mandated to us. It's by generations previous. It's mandated. And I don't accept that anymore. To the point where I think I overprocess with my daughter. And I think she's like, Mom, enough. But I just hope that, again, it can be woke. I think, therefore I exist. Right? All that we are arises with our thoughts. These great sayings that should inform a lifetime.
Yeah, just put them into action. You can say everything, but if you don't act on it accurately, it just doesn't mean anything.
Helping mother in the kitchen for hours and hours, avoiding the charmers, Svengalis and lords. I sing for the shy girl over minor chords. Blues and
I am a music fan, and I'm not a musician, and a lot of times I will tell the artist what I think a song means, and I'm going to do this for Grays and the Blues. I love this song. I feel that it just works for me in all levels, but I'm listening to it, and I had a whole idea what I thought it was, but I'm coming up with that this song is about past generations allowing their problems to continue from one generation to another. You're using the grays and blues as in the colors of the Civil War suits, so it's like a fight within himself and a fight internally with whatever demons that they have. I may be completely off, so how'd I do?
Now, are you talking about blues and gray?
Yeah, I said it wrong. Blues and gray.
Oh,
yeah.
No. That's beautiful. I love your interpretation. I would not want to touch it. In fact, I'm reluctant now to tell you what it means to be, because I want you to hold on to that vision. It's so beautiful. I love it. I love that. The Civil War colors, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I was, I'm so jazz influenced, and I think about, I don't know. It kind of conjures Miles Davis or something, and I'm also thinking about my great grandmother, who was a brilliant woman who didn't get to have a voice in her era. She was one of the first women accepted to Yale before they even let women into the college in 1969. They had a music school, and she was a brilliant pianist, and she was accepted into music school. Then she got engaged, and all of her family told her she had to leave Yale to just, to go off and get married and be housewife. So that means you can't you can't use your gifts in the world. You can't. And so she went and had babies and nearly died with every birth and finally said enough. And she divorced, which was radical for her time. And she taught piano then for the rest of her life. But for some reason, just psychically, she's with me in my lifetime. Like I think about, her name's Charlotte, and I named my daughter after her. And she's just with me. We all have these stories about, especially women in our family. They didn't get to have their dream. They didn't get to use their gifts. They were holding us all together. And I don't know. I think about that. I think about my place in the world, my lineage to her, and it all kind of comes out in this thread in Blues and Gray. That's for women.
I love it. Okay, I like mine. I like yours too. And I wish I would have said in this at the beginning, Blues and Gray instead of Grays and Blue. I wrote that one the wrong thing.
See, I like it.
Yeah. Okay, 7 deadly sins.
Acquire and possess more than one needs.
Your wicked ways, you fall from grace. You never listened to your mother anyway. You never learned. You never learned. You never
peculiar jumble of notions.
Again, while you're talking about Carl, you're talking about me, and you're talking about, I looked at every sin and I actually went on Wikipedia to read each sin. And I
did too.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, I have every single one of these in my time, along with the fact that these are considered cardinal sins. I'm not Catholic anymore, so I'm not really sure how that works anymore. I guess these are minor sins compared to majors. I don't know. But this, to me, is a really, really cool song. But I love Your Wicked Ways You'll Never Learn. I really think it should be a dance mix to this, because I could see people dancing on. It's just, to me, it's very funky. I'm kind of curious on why you created the song and how's that connected to the overall theme of your album.
This is an older song on the album. I recorded it. I recorded like the basic musical track when I was recording my ballads album, with ballads with a bunch of jazz covers, and I hadn't been writing a lot, but this song kind of came out of nowhere, and the verse is in 5/4 meter, which is probably why I thought maybe I'll record it with the jazz stuff, because that's just kind of odd, you know. Bo bo da don da don don go da da don da don da 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5. So it's in 5, and then when it hits the chorus, it just goes to a big 4/4 anthemic chorus, and it didn't fit with ballads. It was standing on its own, and I thought it would be really hip to bring in another singer with me. So I love Michelle Nzeka-Cello. I love her voice. I love her vision. And I love her rap. I love it when she speaks. It's so sexy. It's so authoritative and funky. Her low rapping voice is so amazing. So I just thought, it'd be so great to have her, speak the sins. So I just sent her the track, and she really did her own thing. It was so different from what I thought, and I just loved it. She made it much longer and more poetic and even thinkerly, cerebral. She's a real reader. And I don't know, it was just a process. It happened so organically. I didn't intend it. It just happened. So, and then of course, I think about it because of someone who's supposed to be a father of our country is not very fatherly. And I'm thinking about that, and it's kind of directed there, if you follow.
Yeah, I got it. But you know, Michelle DeNegacello had that album called Cookie, and this is like would be a track that would be similar to Cookie, where you know, she had like spoken word of poetry and thought, along with, you know, some hip hop and stuff. I really think you should give this to some kind of producer or like a DJ, and just say a mixer, I guess I'm trying to say, and just say give a shot, give us a dance spin, because it's wicked, and I think of this would be something that Kate Bush would have loved to put on her album, the Running Up the Hill album.
Hounds of Love.
Oh, thank you very much.
You know, that's one of my favorite albums.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Can't you imagine that? Like, she'd be like, I wish I would have wrote that song.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I do worship at the altar of Kate Bush.
Yeah,
she's one of the. Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. And I was like, this has all the elements. It just needs to go further out in the world. I can see people dancing. I can see it. I just see it in my head.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Sure. I have one more question. Is before we go, who would you like to win the presidency for 2020?
Of course, I'll vote for anyone but him. You know.
No, I'm right
Who would I like to be the Democratic candidate, you think?
Yeah.
I'm still making up my mind. Bernie gets the highest rating ecologically, like environmentally. So I like that. But I'll vote for, and I think Elizabeth Warren is amazing. I don't know if she could seal the deal, but I love her. I'm still making up my mind. Those are probably my leads right now, because just environmentally they're tops. They both care the most about that.
I liked Cory Booker. I'm in Jersey. I used to live in Jersey, so I'm familiar with Cory Booker, and he did a lot for New Jersey. And if anyone can come out clean in New Jersey, that means something very positive. He didn't take off. So I'd like to see Bernie and Warren as president, vice president. I feel that they speak the same language, and that they don't really. There's no tug of war of egos. When they get in there, they know exactly what they're doing. So I don't want him to bring, like Bernie, a young person in to balance out the ticket. I just want Elizabeth Warren as his vice president, or vice versa, either or.
Right.
And
I wish there were more color left.
Yeah.
That's, you know.
It's everything we didn't want to happen. We wanted youth and vitality and energy and you know, an urban look. We wanted the face of what America looks like, and we get these two old people. It's not what we want, but it's what we're gonna have to deal with.
Well, Kamala Harris could still be a VP potential.
Oh yeah. Oh, trust me. Whatever they mix it up, I don't really care at this point. Just let's just go forward. Let's hurry up. Let's get this over with.
Absolutely, we have got to galvanize the left and the center. We've got to flip this.
Yeah, I'm stressed every day. I'm doing my Rachel Maddow. I'm doing my Trump cast. I'm doing Pod Save the World. I'm so overwhelmed with this and consumed that, you know, sometimes I'm like, can we stop? Like, can this stop soon? So.
Yeah, we've got to stop, and we've got to save our planet as soon as possible.
Okay.
Yep.
Paula Cole, thank you very much for making this amazing album. It's really fun. You can obviously tell that I'm a fan of this one, and I really appreciate it.
I know, deep dive.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you.
Thank you very much. And
you're so lovely. All right, wishing you all good things. Take good care.
Awesome, Paula Cole. Thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye. Bye.
Bail is based on skin color. The darker you are, the longer you ran. Then working for slave wages for corporate plantations. Profiteering from free labor. They want to build more prisons. Then the children go to foster care, and families are broken. I want to get militant. I want to divide and scream. But I think I'm Dr.